Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to Guru Maharaj. I welcome everyone to His Holiness Candramauli Swami Maharaj's daily call. Today, our speaker is His Grace Candramauli Prabhuji. Prabhuji is going to enlighten us on the topic of forgiveness from Srimad Bhagavatam, 1st Canto, 19th chapter, and the verse number is 4. So, Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dhanavad Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for your time and association to all of us today. You can please take over the call, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. I'll share the screen.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to be with everyone and speak something. Really appreciate it. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Guru Maharaj. So we are going to be reading from Canto number 1, chapter 19, text number 4. So I'll just read the Sanskrit, the translation and the purport, and then maybe we can have a little discussion. If that's okay. Okay. Sachintayanitam atasinodhyata mune shutokto nitis takshakyakhyaha sadumene nachirena takshak nalam prashaktasya virakti karanam. Okay, so that's the Sanskrit. If we just go to the translation. While the king was thus repenting, he received news of his imminent death, which would be due to the bite of a snake bird, occasioned by the curse spoken by the sage's son. The king accepted this as good news, for it would be the cause of his indifference towards worldly things. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Real happiness is achieved by spiritual existence or by cessation of the repetition of birth and death. One can stop the repetition of birth and death only by going back to Godhead. In the material world, even by attaining the topmost planet, Brahmaloka, one cannot get rid of the conditions of repeated birth and death. But still, we do not accept the path of attaining perfection. The path of perfection frees one from all material attachments, and thus one becomes fit to enter into the spiritual kingdom. Therefore, those who are materially poverty-stricken are better candidates than those who are materially prosperous. Maharaj Parikshit was a great devotee of the Lord and a bona fide candidate for entering into the kingdom of God. But even though he was so, his material assets as the emperor of the world were setbacks to perfect attainment of his rightful status as one of the associates of the Lord in the spiritual sky. As a devotee of the Lord, he could understand that the cursing of the Brahmana boy, although unwise, was a blessing upon him, being the cause of detachment from worldly affairs, both political and social. Shamika Muni also, after regretting the incident, conveyed the news to the king as a matter of duty, so that the king would be able to prepare himself to go back to Godhead. Shamika Muni sent news to the king that foolish Shringi, his son, although a powerful Brahmana boy, unfortunately had misused his spiritual power by cursing the king unwarrantedly. The incident of the king's garlanding the Muni was not sufficient cause for being cursed to death, but since there was no way to retract the curse, the king was informed to prepare for death within a week. Both Shamika Muni and the king were self-realized souls. Shamika Muni was a mystic and Maharaj Parikshit was a devotee. Therefore, there was no difference between them in self-realization. Neither of them were afraid of meeting death. Maharaj Parikshit could have gone to the Muni to beg his pardon, but the news of imminent death was conveyed to the king with so much regret by the Muni that the king did not want to shame the Muni further by his presence there. He decided to prepare himself for his imminent death and find out the way to go back to Godhead. Okay, so maybe we'll just stop here and maybe discuss from the translation, the purport up to this point. Om Gyan Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manopishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavadebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivashari Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So I would like to request the blessings of all the assembled devotees to empower me to speak something. I was very happy to receive Srimati Mataji's message yesterday. If I could speak something today, and I was thinking to speak on this topic of forgiveness, mainly because I struggle with it so much myself, and hoping that if I can speak something, that maybe I can become purified and learn something myself, and hopefully we can have some discussion on this topic. So here in the Srimad Bhagavatam in Canto, Mataji, maybe you can just take off the screen share so we can, and if devotees would like to switch on their video, that would be nice so we can see everyone, but no pressure. But if you can, that would be really nice. Thank you. So in this section of the Srimad Bhagavatam, it's the famous bit. It's the bit we hear about. Whenever you think of Srimad Bhagavatam, whenever you're telling anyone about the Bhagavatam, this is what we say to them first. Hey, there was a king, and you know this king, he got cursed to death. He got cursed to die in 7 days. And you're like, and then whoever you're speaking to, no way, he got cursed. What did he do? Did he go for a world tour? Did he do some parachuting? You know, how did he get? Did he fulfill all his desires? When we're trying to share the secrets of Srimad Bhagavatam, generally the people are thinking, when you're told you've got 7 days to live, fulfill all your material desires very, very quickly, because you've only got 7 days to fulfill your desires. And then when we say, actually, what Maharaj Parikshit did when he had 7 days to live, he went and sought a sage. He went to seek Shukadev Goswami. And when he found Shukadev Goswami, he asked Shukadev Goswami many, many questions. And ultimately that became the Srimad Bhagavatam. And then we try and preach and we try and distribute the Bhagavatam and try and share this transcendental knowledge. The only reason that this knowledge can be distributed is not just because of the content inside, but it's because of the caliber of the personalities that are presiding the scriptures. And Parikshit Maharaj is a wonderful example. We know from the story that he was hungry, he was thirsty, he had been on a hunting expedition for quite some time, and he came upon Shamika Rishi's hermitage, and he was just expecting, just as you would if someone rings the doorbell to your house. When someone rings the doorbell, what do? Well, in Kali Yuga, what we do is first we clean it as much as we can quickly within those few minutes before you have to answer the doorbell. But ultimately, when we receive a guest, the simple thing is you invite them in, you offer them pleasing words, you give them a place to sit, and you offer them some water. This is just the simple basics of welcoming a guest. There's obviously more. We can wash their lotus feet, we can serve them a sumptuous meal, you can give them a place to rest. There's many things we can do, but the basics are welcoming, pleasing words, a place to sit, and some water. That's how we can welcome a guest initially. But Maharaj Parikshit went to this hermitage, and Shamika Rishi is in a trance, And Maharaj Parikshit was very astonished to see that the sage did not offer him anything. And in his thirst, in his hunger, and also, which is more important, the transcendental plan of the Supreme Lord, with all of these things combined, Maharaj Parikshit left the hermitage, and in his disgust, we could say, that the sage did not offer him a pleasing words, did not offer him some water, which is really what he wanted. He just wanted some water. He saw a dead snake and kind of just flinged it on to Shamika Rishi, and it garlanded Shamika Rishi. And in his trance, Shamika Rishi didn't notice at that time, and Maharaj Parikshit left. So the scriptures have many layers, and in one layer we can see that Maharaj Parikshit, in his thirst, was very self-absorbed. We can admit this, I think, within ourselves. When we're really hungry, it's like a baby. When the baby's hungry, thirsty, or tired. I have two young daughters, so I can honestly say when they're hungry, thirsty, or tired, they are absolutely madness. It's just, you cannot deal with them, to be honest. But actually, I can't even deal with myself when I'm hungry, thirsty, or tired. We become very self-absorbed. So on that understanding, in one layer, we can see that Maharaj Parikshit was hungry, thirsty, tired, and in that self-absorption, he was angry. We could say there was some anger, and he garlanded Shamika Rishi with a dead snake, like an insult to the sage. We can say that Maharaj Parikshit didn't evaluate the situation. He reacted. But why did he react? Because of his situation of being hungry, thirsty, and tired. Now, we also know, and to qualify what I'm just saying, Maharaj Parikshit is a pure devotee of the Lord. We also know there's another layer to the Shastra, and another layer to the Shastra is that the pure devotee is just being controlled by the Lord. The pure devotee is acting on the transcendental plan of the Lord. And if Maharaj Parikshit didn't do this, then we wouldn't have the Srimad Bhagavatam, and we wouldn't be having a daily call with Guru Maharaj every day, or maybe we would. But the whole idea of this pastime is also that this is the plan of the Lord. So there's always the transcendental layer, but there's also the layer of learning for us, because the layer for learning for us is what did Maharaj Parikshit do at that moment? We can say Maharaj Parikshit did not give the sage the benefit of the doubt. And Maharaj Parikshit realized this because as he was going back to his kingdom, he started to think, oh, what if the sage was in a trance? Like, what if he wasn't actually insulting me? What if he wasn't actually ignoring me? And what if the sage was innocently in a trance? And he began to think, and he actually began to realize, oh, actually, I'm going to get some sort of reaction for this. And he began to think, actually, he began to pray, may this reaction just come quickly. Why? Because the way karma works is the longer we wait for our reactions, the more interest we kind of pay on them. It's like, it's like if you get, sometimes the reaction just comes quicker, it just comes. Sometimes reaction that takes a longer time to come, they come in different mysterious ways. And usually the interest is the fact we don't know where it's come from. We don't realize what the reason for that reaction is. When the karma comes instantly, we can kind of see, oh, look, I just did that to someone and now it's coming back to me. And then Shringi did the same thing. Shringi then hears, Shringi is the son of Shamaka Rishi, he hears that that his father has been insulted in such a way, and he curses Maharaj Parikshit. He curses Maharaj Parikshit and says to Maharaj Parikshit, says that I curse that this emperor who thinks he's better than a Brahmin, may he be that this snake bird Takshaka will kill him, will bite him in 7 days' time, and he will be killed. So the news of his imminent death came to him, which was the verse we were reading. But like it said in the verse, it said the king accepted this as good news. The king accepted this as good news. So Maharaj Parikshit broke the cycle. Because what generally happens in the material world is tit for tat. I hurt you, you hurt me, I'll hurt you back, you hurt me, and I'll hurt you back, and then I'll hurt your family, you'll hurt my family, I'll hurt your friends, I'll destroy your reputation, I'll destroy your service, I'll destroy everything about you, and it just doesn't stop until someone breaks the cycle. And Maharaj Parikshit breaks the cycle very, very quickly. He realizes, okay, this curse has come, and I'm going to see it as good news. I'm going to try and learn something from this. I asked Guru Maharaj this question, maybe some of you probably were there just a couple of days ago, maybe it was just yesterday or a couple of days ago. I asked Guru Maharaj on this daily call, I asked him, what do you do when people, what does one do when we are criticized? And he said what he does, and Guru Maharaj is very humble, as we know. He said, first I try and see what I can learn from it. And you know, I had never ever thought of that. When I'm criticized, I'd never thought I need to learn something. When I'm criticized, I'm always just thinking that person is a fool, you know, for criticizing me. How dare they criticize me? But Guru Maharaj so humbly, he said, well, first I try and see what I can learn from this. And then Guru Maharaj said that the next thing is just ignore it. You know, don't get too sucked into it and just ignore it. So Maharaj Parikshit, he thought, what can I learn from this? Well, the one thing he did learn is let's not get into a tit for tat battle. He did something, he accepted the reaction. Now the reaction was far more heavy than the actual offense. When Shamaka Rishi saw the dead snake, it was just as if, you know, like if we just saw some dust on our shoulder. If we see some dust on our shoulder, we'd just be like, do that, just get rid of it. So for a sage who's living in the forest, a dead snake around him while he's been doing his meditation, it's just like, okay, off it goes. That's it. So that's how he saw it, completely insignificant. And he said to his son, actually, what you've done is very immature. What you've done is very immature. Why? Because what did Shringi do? Shringi did not give due process either. He didn't give the benefit of the doubt. Something we always say in the West is innocent until proven guilty. It's like a saying, and I think it's not just a saying, it's the way things work in the courts. You're innocent until you're proven guilty. But sadly, for us, a lot of the time, we judge someone else as guilty until proven innocent. As soon as someone does something, we take that very, very personally. We take that criticism very, very personally, and it's not so easy to give them due process. And due process means understand the situation from their side. What actually happened? Are they guilty? Or are we projecting onto them what we think their intentions were? Maharaj Parikshit was hungry, thirsty, and tired. He was totally parched. When you haven't had, when we do Bhima Ekadashi, it's like by the end of the day, we're totally out of it, you know, in one sense. And Maharaj Parikshit hadn't taken anything for such a long time, and when Shringi finds out that he'd put the dead snake on his father, he didn't think. What was Maharaj Parikshit's situation? Why did he do this? What was the reason he did this? What was his intention? He didn't. He just straight away cursed him that you'll be dead in 7 days. So the mentality of if you hurt me, I'll hurt you, it shouldn't continue. The cycle must be broken. And Maharaj Parikshit did break the cycle. He didn't get into it. When Shringi cursed him, he didn't go and try and counteract the curse. He didn't stop the curse. He just let it happen. And he saw this as the plan of the Lord. He saw this as the plan of the Lord. One thing we can do when we are hurt is we can try and understand that nothing comes to us without Krishna's sanction. Krishna explains to Arjuna that I am, he says in the Bhagavad Gita, Upadrashta Anumanta, that I am the overseer and the permitter. And that means that Krishna oversees everything, and he's also the permitter. He sanctions everything that's happening. It doesn't mean Krishna desires everything that goes on in the material world, far from it, but he permits it. So Krishna has a loving purpose when we are hurt. And ultimately, that loving purpose is for us to learn something so we can grow. Now, we may think, well, why do I have to learn? Why do I have to learn with so much suffering? And generally, the reason we have to learn with so much suffering is because we just didn't learn it when things were going good. When things are going good, we don't generally try and learn so much. We're just happy. Everything's going well. I must be doing something right. I'm doing good in my Krishna consciousness. I'm waking up early. I'm chanting my rounds. I'm reading. I'm associating with the devotees. We're ticking all these boxes. So we're thinking everything is great. But then what can happen is we sometimes don't take the opportunities to grow. We don't take the opportunities to learn. And sometimes we just need a bit of a kick, a bit of suffering to bring us back into that mode of trying to grow, trying to learn. It's only when we are maybe criticized, we're hurt, we're offended, we're upset, that we can actually see, there's still more in my heart I need to work on. There's still more going on. And one of the things that we generally don't think about so much is the personality of Krishna, and the aspect of his personality, which is Suridam. Suridam Sarva Bhutanam. Krishna says, I'm the well-wisher of all living entities. Suridam, I'm the well-wisher. Now, what does it mean to be the well-wisher? The well-wisher means I want you to be happy. That, like Prabhupada is, his signature, your ever well-wisher. The mini Lilamrit book, your ever well-wisher. Prabhupada is our well-wisher. Prabhupada wants good for us because he's a pure devotee of the Lord, and he's displaying one of these qualities of the Lord. And one of these qualities of the Lord is that he is Suridam. He's our best friend. He loves us so much. He loves us so much that there's nothing that we can do, there's nothing that we have the power to do that can stop him loving us. We don't have the power to stop Krishna loving us. That's how much he loves us. So no matter what we do, he'll still love us, whatever we do. But the way he reciprocates with us, the way he loves us, is very personal. It's very personal. We have a one-to-one personal relationship with Krishna. And because that relationship is so personal, he deals with us personally. And when he's dealing with us personally, he knows what is best for us. The tests we have in our spiritual life, all these tests that we come across in our spiritual life, are given to us because we're meant to grow. We're meant to learn through them and grow through them. So someone upsets me, someone hurts me, someone criticizes me, someone destroys my reputation, someone someone really, really, really takes things to another level and upsets me. What is going to be my reaction to this? And the first thing we can think is, okay, I don't want to react without thinking. When we act before we think, that is mode of passion. And Krishna explains in the Gita that mode of passion is nectar at the beginning, but poison at the end. Yes, nectar at the beginning and poison at the end. So we might feel a bit of nectar because we said something back. You fool! We said something back. But then it's poison at the end because we're going to get some reaction to what we did. And we think about it later. Like in one sense, we can even see that Maharaj Parikshit, he at that point, when he garlanded the snake, there was an act. And then he thought about it later. Maybe I shouldn't have done that. But mode of goodness is we think first and act later. Yeah, the first think and then act. That's called a response. A reaction is generally without thinking. A response is a thought out, something that we thought out before responding. So first thing we can do is, okay, how do I want to respond to this? Let me think about this. Let me think about what's happened. What's the best way for me to respond? I mean, I just remember a couple of weeks back, I got this email from one devotee, and we're trying to negotiate something at our temple. And naturally we're in different departments. I'm one of the I help with the management at the Gurukul, and so naturally I'm fully vested in that project. And there's another temple. There's the temple, and they have the central. Should we say they run the central organization of the different assets, etc. And anyway, there was an email exchange, and then one email I received said something like, "This is foolish. You're like this. You're like," and it was I felt like it was an insulting email. And my reaction, I should say, straight away was, why don't you learn how to write before you press send? I didn't send that. That was my reaction. But luckily I didn't send it. And then I thought, okay, I'm not going to send this, but that's my reaction. And then I thought, okay, actually, I can't send this. I need to have a well thought out response. But if I didn't think to myself, then my reaction would have just been send this, and then he would have sent something back. I would have sent something back, and the cycle doesn't end. Someone has to break the cycle. So to break the cycle, first thing we can do is take due process. Does that person have an intention that's different to what I think their intention is? Try and be empathic. It's hard, but this is the way we can grow. This is the way we can be Suridam, the well-wishers of others, just like Prabhupada's our well-wisher, just like our Guru Maharaj is our well-wisher, just like the Lord is our well-wisher. We want to be that well-wisher. We want to be that well-wisher for others. So how can we do this? Innocent till proven guilty. If we need a mediator, we can have a mediator, someone that's disinterested, someone that's neutral, someone that is not triggered by the events. So what do I mean by triggered by the events? So for example, if let's say there was some, well, one simple way of putting this is, if someone had been, if the accusation was one of abuse, then you're not going to get someone who had been abused to be that mediating party, because they may be triggered by those events. Just like generally, if you think about when you have a jury in a court, generally what they first want to check out is, has that person been hurt by the same crime that they're going to be adjudicating? So that's one thing. And the main thing for us is understanding that Krishna has a loving purpose. Rakhe Krishna Marike, Mare Krishna Rakhe. If Krishna wants to protect me, no one can hurt me. And if I'm meant to be hurt, that's coming because Krishna's allowing it to happen. Krishna's allowing it to happen. Whatever's coming to me, Krishna's allowing it to happen. So then we can ask ourselves these two questions. What does Krishna want me to learn? And two, how does Krishna want me to respond? What does Krishna want me to learn? And how does Krishna want me to respond? And then comes the hard bit. So it's innocent till proven guilty. We're understanding this is coming from Krishna. Rakhe Krishna Marike, Mare Krishna Rakhe. Nothing comes to me without Krishna's sanction. Krishna's looking out for me. Krishna loves me. What is Krishna's loving purpose? Krishna has a loving purpose. Can I find it? Can I grow from it? And then comes the hard bit. How can I let go of that criticism? How can I let go of the person that's hurt me? How can I not wish ill on them? Generally, the problem is, if someone has made me suffer, I want them to suffer. Isn't it? That's our conditioning. If you've made me suffer, how dare you be happy? It's like, isn't it annoying when someone has just criticized you, someone has just hurt you, and the next day you see them at Guru Puja going, Prabhupada, Prabhupada. You're thinking, hey, what are you doing? You're so fake. We have that kind of, who the hell are you to experience any spiritual happiness when you've hurt me? but actually what we're then trying to say is, look, I'm God, and I decide that you need to suffer. I decide that you need to suffer. You've made me suffer, and I'm making the decision because I'm the Supreme Lord that you need to suffer. And then that person doesn't suffer, and then we suffer even more. Because then what happens? We're envious. We're burning with envy that someone else is finding some happiness that we don't think they should have. So we're then taking that position of God, and at some point we suffer so much and we realize, actually, I'm not God. Oh, that's the problem. I'm not God. I'm not Krishna. Oh, we come to that understanding. Oh, I'm not Krishna. And then we realize, who is Krishna? Oh, Krishna's that person who plays the flute, who's everyone's best friend. Krishna's that person who is Suridam, Sarvabhutanam. He is the well-wisher of everyone. And because he's the well-wisher of everyone, he wants that person who's hurt me, he's actually their best friend too. Oh, it's like that. So now what can I do? Instead of trying to wish bad for them, wish suffering on them, can I pray that the other person can learn whatever they need to learn in the most joyous and happiest way? Because they may need to learn something, but can I pray? And this is a real breakthrough when it comes to forgiveness. Can I pray that they can learn their lesson in the most joyous and happiest way possible? And it might seem like, no, I don't want to do that. I can't. I'm not there yet. I can't. But then we think to ourselves, actually, what must it be like in Vaikunta? Vaikunta is the place of no suffering. So if Vaikunta, which means no anxiety, no suffering, if Vaikunta is the place of no anxiety and no suffering, that means it's a place where we can't wish that suffering on someone else. Right? It's a place of no suffering, which means suffering is not in the consciousness, which means we don't wish suffering on someone else. We don't wish anxiety, tribulations on someone else. If we're wishing someone else to suffer, that means we're not ready to go there. We're not ready to go to the place where there's no suffering if we're wishing suffering on someone else. So if we want to learn our lessons in the most joyous and happiest way, isn't that the best way for us to learn? Hey, Krishna, yeah, I need to learn something. I need to get over envy. Yeah, just show me happily, Prabhupada, just the happiest way, Hare Krishna, just happily moving along our Krishna consciousness and learn a few lessons and Prabhupada, just happily moving along in our spiritual life. If we want to learn our lessons like that, that's the energy we need to give out to the universe. That's the energy we need to give out to the world, because that's how it goes. That's how karma works. If we are walking around saying that person needs to suffer, 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 and only I can be Krishna conscious, only I'm allowed to do Jaya Prabhupada, and everyone else needs to suffer while they repent for what they've done to me, then sadly that energy that we're giving out to the world is going to come back to us, and then we're going to have to learn through that same suffering that we're wishing on others. So if we really want to make these breakthroughs in forgiveness, it's ultimately, can I wish happiness for them? Can I wish them spiritual happiness? Can I wish for them to go back to Krishna? And when we really look at this, the hardest thing is, I remember when one devotee really, really hurt me and upset me, I actually was thinking about it, and I was thinking, I don't want them to get mercy. I don't want them to go back to Godhead. I don't wish anything good for them. I just want them to suffer miserably for what they've done to me. And while I was feeling like that, I just suffered more and more. I just suffered myself. Just wishing that suffering on someone else, I just suffered myself. So if we can have this magnanimous heart and wish that the other person, whoever has hurt me, let them learn their lesson in the most joyous and happiest way, then not only will we be giving out positive energy to the world, that joyous and happy learning will come to us. Krishna will give us happy and joyous ways to learn our lessons. And when we do this, the most amazing thing, the most liberating thing is that the other person has then lost all their power to hurt you. You know, ultimately this person that's hurt us is because we've given them the power to hurt us. That's something we've just given to them. Because if someone is criticizing us, if them hurting us is affecting our happiness, what we're saying is, Prabhuji, Mataji, here is the key to my happiness. Please have it. And you have this key, and because you have this key, when you come and say sorry to me, pay obeisances to me, give me a mangal sweet, and I forgive you, then I'll be happy again. But if you don't do it, you hold on to that key, and I'll just keep suffering. But if you give me that key back, then it's up to me. And how can I take that key back? Because I'm going to wish for you to be happy. I'm going to wish for you to be joyous. I'm going to wish all the spiritual blessings come upon you. And then what happens? They give us that key back. And then our happiness is up to us and Krishna. It's up to between us, Guru, and Krishna. But if we don't want to do that, if we want to hold on to our suffering, that means we're not holding on to the key to our own happiness. Someone else has got the key, and we're just holding on to our suffering. So Maharaj Parikshit, he didn't want to get into this. Maharaj Parikshit broke the cycle. He's like, okay, he understood straight away that Krishna has a loving purpose. Rake Krishna Marake, Mare Krishna Rakeke. He knew Krishna has a loving purpose, and I'm just going to go through this. And Shringi, I'm not going to go and curse Shringi. Whatever needs to happen to Shringi can happen to Shringi. I'm not going to let Shringi hurt me anymore. I've understood. Maharaj Parikshit's thinking, I've understood this is coming from Krishna. I can learn something. I can do something wonderful. And I'm not going to let the other person hurt me because I'm going to wish well on them. So there are just some thoughts on forgiveness and this little story with Maharaj Parikshit, Shringi, and Shamika Rishi. Thank you all so much for your kind attention, and I'll hand it back to Srimati Mataji. And if anyone has any comments, and it'll be nice to hear others' reflections and their how they've dealt with forgiveness, how they've overcome, or should I say, dealt with criticism, how they've overcome these sort of situations. It's really nice to hear from the devotees. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much for such a wonderful talk. It's very needed talk as a reminder. So how to, as you said, we should, the key to happiness, our key to happiness is in our hands. And a lot of wonderful points. I really enjoyed the class. Thank you so much. So I see already 3 hands raised. Sukahava Mataji, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. It was amazing class. And I've learned a lot from this class, exactly like what Srimati Mataji said. And thank you for coming forward and giving this class. Now Srimati Mataji knows who to contact. But couple of points, definitely, as you asked, that reflection of our thing and sharing what our experiences are. I would like to say that I really admire your point where you say that, to wish for the person who has hurt us, that they learn in a joyous manner, which is really, really good one. Because up till now, I was just trying to achieve the aim that, okay, fine, if they've hurt us, that must be our karma. After listening to all these classes, yes, that's our karma, accept it, and let Krishna deal with them. And still that little, cringe in my heart will be that, oh, that person hurt me, that person really hurt me. And I may not be very happy if they are happy, as you said, honestly. But I really, really appreciate that when you say that we should wish that way, and that will definitely remove that little thing in our heart as well very easily. And thank you for that. Really appreciate. Thank you.
Thank you
Krishna.
for encouragement, Sukava Mataji. Yeah. Like I said, I'm not there yet. I'm also struggling with all of this, but it's just good to repeat what I've heard so that I can also get
Is
to
really
that
no.
point.
And sometimes,
It's
you do
really
listen to the things, but it doesn't struck that, oh yeah, this is a good point. We have to accept it and we have to put it in the practice. But sometimes it just hits you, and today definitely hit me. Maybe I was thinking, I was meditating on this particular topic after Guru Maharaj said as well. And when you say it again, it does help. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Yeah, yes, we need reminders to remember. So that it constantly goes in our mind and keep on telling us to practice that. Yeah. Yeah. Raj Prabhu, please go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to Guru Maharaj. All glories to you, Kanchijapana Prabhu, and all of the Vaishnavas.
All glories to you, Raj Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for that really action-packed. There's so much fruit in there. There's so much fruit in there, and there's all these things that are coming into my head. And I was like frantically trying to write notes. So if I may, I'd like to try and play back my learning from all of those points. And I might hesitate a bit whilst I'm speaking because I'm trying to coordinate all the points in my notes as I summarize. So I think I kind of broke it out into the first part of it was, okay, the event happens. We don't really get cursed these days. So it may be an insult or an act of malice, or it may just be a bad thing that we think, or something that's perceived to be a bad thing at least. So the events happened. And then the next step is how we perceive that, because obviously Parikshit Maharaj perceived that as a blessing. So, and there is the seed. So there is the seed of a blessing in that, whatever's happening to us or happens to us. And it may be presented to us in a way that we perceive it as poison or something bad. So it's like the chocolate in the wrapper. It doesn't look like a chocolate. It looks like something horrible, poison, maybe. It looks like rat poison, but it's like a chocolate that looks like rat poison. So firstly, we need to perceive it correctly. And he gave us some very nice points about that in our greatest friend, Krishna, has sanctioned this. Our greatest well-wisher, Krishna, sanctioned this. And he's always got our best interest at heart. So obviously, if we can remember that, and I thought maybe that we could have a checklist somewhere. So when these things happen to us, we can go to our checklist and go, oh yeah, I've got to remember this and this and this. And then we can work out what we're going to do. So if we can remember things like that, then we can recognize that, okay, it's not a bad thing. There's a seed of a blessing in here. And obviously the way that we react is going to be impacted by so many things, maybe by our sadhana that day, might be by our environment, may not be a Krishna conscious environment at the time. We may be as Parikshit Maharaj, tired, hungry, thirsty. All of those things are going to have an impact. So sometimes we may be in a great frame of mind and we may react greatly, favorably. And then the next bit is how we act, and how we act is unwrapping, removing the wrapper from the chocolate so that we can consume the chocolate. And in order to react properly, then you gave us some more great examples in that. It's twofold, our reaction. In that, we need to learn our lesson. There's something there's something unique learning thing designed specifically for us, for our particular faults and weaknesses. And so we got to try and recognize what the lesson in is for us and how we can learn from it. And we also got to think about is that act an act of malice? If it's a genuine act of malice or an insult, and it's meant in that way, then that person that's inflicted it, they're actually suffering. They're in a bad way themselves, because if they were happy and Krishna conscious, they wouldn't be acting like that. So it's our compassion and how we can help them. And obviously there's other things mixed in there. Obviously we have our gut reaction. It might be, oh no, oh, what that person, or may like think bad thoughts about that person. And it's like, what can we do very quickly that can uplift? Because in that moment we may go for a mode of ignorance or a mode of passion, knee-jerk reaction, but what can we do instantly that might change? And obviously the best thing we can do is like think of Krishna or chant the Mahamantra, and if at all possible, chant the Mahamantra with as much heart as possible, so that it actually goes deep into us and penetrates our heart and affects our consciousness.
Thank you.
Sorry, that may have been a bit of rambling.
No, but thank you. I really appreciate that example about the chocolate wrapper. And if we take the wrapping off this chocolate, I like that. Got me a bit hungry, but definitely. and I really appreciate the point you said just now, which was compassionately try to help them. It may take us a long way to get there, but that's ultimately what we want to do. Because if we don't take the criticism personally, if we don't take it personally, we can understand, like you said, Raj, that they're also suffering, and if that person is suffering, then I can help them if we don't take it personally. But if we do take it personally, we become a bit self-absorbed and don't feel like reaching out to them because we're just thinking about what happened to us. So thank you so much, Raj Prabhu. That's some really nice points. And I learned a lot from your summary, so thank you.
Okay. There's one more thing.
Yes, Prabhu.
And I can come back to it if there's, because I can see there's lots of other people that want. I always remember when anyone talks about this topic, I always remember what Radha Bhakti Mataji said, because that like changed my life in an instant.
Okay, so should we come back to that?
Okay, yeah, sure.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Yeah, Brajulasni Mataji, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you. Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada.
Mataji, can you please be a little louder? Can come closer.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Yes, Mataji, please.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Thank you, Prabhuji, so much. It's a really nice class. I really like that Sukha Mata. I really learned so much from you. Like so much point you say that is really needed to in our day-to-day life, because forgiveness is a big topic, and our day-to-day life, like we have to learn it every day. I just had an experience like about 3 weeks back, and that person behavior was really bothering me. I was thinking about it, like I'm going to just call her and talk to her, and then I paused myself and I said, okay, wait a minute, don't call her right now, or just wait. And passed like a couple of days, and I just wait, and then everything is passed, and then I said, okay, now I calm down, and I think, okay, this is a good. I'm really glad that I did not call her and talk to her, otherwise it would be very bad situation. And like because we always forget that everyone is a part and parcel of the Krishna. So, and like you said, like everyone has a personal relationship with the Krishna, and devotee has a personal relations. So that's, I have to remember that, like, okay, yeah, that person also has a devotee of the Krishna, and we have to be careful what we sometimes seeing it or saying something. So that's really nice class, Prabhuji. you think you give more class on those kind of topics, forgiveness and tolerance and this kind of things? So come forward and give us more class like on this kind of a topic. Thank you, Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you for encouragement. I think what's more inspiring is the fact you actually did it. I just speak about it, but I don't do it. But you're actually doing it, which is that you waited. You know, it's so easy just to call that person that instant and just say, "How dare you? Who do you think you are?" You know, do you know what you just done? Do you know how much you've upset me? But what's really inspiring is what you did. It's like a living example. You waited a couple of days. You thought about how you want to call back, when you're going to call back, and then speak in a way that when things are a bit calm, because then you get to think first. So no, thank you for sharing that story, because it reminds me that it's possible, and I don't have to always be a fool and and call straight away and insult someone back. Thank you so much, Mataji.
Yeah, thank you, Brajvilasni Mataji. Even I wanted to ask, like, as you said, you also mentioned, like, Prabhuji, in your class, like, you got an email and you took some time to respond. So, but if it is an email, we have little time to respond, think about it and think first and act next. But suppose if anybody is talking on your face or over the phone, then we have to reply immediately. So at that time, we have to think first, and that is very impossible. That is very hard because we always react first. So at that time, how to do that? Yeah, that is very important. Because at the time, our mind will not function in a proper way. That's what I feel. Like, if you get a time, then you'll think. But if you don't have time to, then definitely will react, will not respond properly. That's
It's a nice point, Mataji. Yeah, so when we're speaking to someone on the phone, or when we're in front of someone and they say something to us, they argue with us, they criticize us, then we don't have that time. With the email, you've got the time, you can just not respond. You can take with a message, you can just not respond. I think that the principle is the same. The principle is, mode of goodness is think first, act later. And the more we situate our life in the mode of goodness, the more we're doing things in the mode of goodness, regulating ourselves, eating the right food, having a sattvic lifestyle, then if that becomes a natural thing for us to think before we act, it doesn't mean we need to think for 1 hour before we respond. That think before we act can come quite instantly. That, okay, this person has insulted me, and straight away we can just remind ourselves, like, it's quite okay, this person's saying this, I'm not going to respond like they are. So, and then in that instant, we can either stay quiet, we can maybe maybe say, okay, Hare Krishna, I'll think about what you said and call you. Maybe we can meet next time. Or maybe we can even be really brave and say, I'm feeling quite upset about what you're saying to me, so I'm just going to excuse myself, and maybe we can speak about this tomorrow. You know, and one thing is if we own the feeling, if we own how we're feeling, and it can just convey to that person how I'm feeling insulted, I'm feeling hurt, when we can own the feeling and express that, then you've responded in a way that gives you that extra amount of time to think about what we want to say. But one thing Guru Maharaj also said is just chant, you know, but sometimes we can't just say Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, you know. We can maybe do that at home with our family members, because they know how nuts we are anyway. But if we're in public or with others, maybe just owning the feeling is a nice way of responding, and then buying yourself that time to respond in a more comprehensive way. But it'd be nice to hear what others do also. If anyone has any tips on this, maybe Sri Devi Mataji can give us some tips. She's expert in this field. So if you want to give us some tips on this, Mother Sri Devi, please do feel free.
Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to His Holiness Bhakti Charu Maharaj. All glories to Candramauli Maharaj. All glories to our devotees. First, I want to thank you for such a riveting class with so many practical day-to-day examples of what we actually face in our spiritual life, and also how you have meditated on it and how you have gleaned all the wisdom from Guru Maharaj and how you presented it. I mean, it still is in my mind the way you said that when Guru Maharaj receives criticism, he says, the first thing I do is try to think about what's in this for me, what I can learn from this. And that's like, wow, that's big, that's huge. First thing when someone is criticizing or being, a little off color with us, our first reaction is, hey, come on, don't you know how great I am? Which is exactly what you said, we are first, a false ego, immediately is triggered, and then it takes time to understand that, hey, you need to come to that mode of goodness, you need to think about this. Krishna, as you rightly said, if he's the overseer and he's the permitter, so everything that is happening very purposefully, being arranged by Krishna for my higher good. That's a huge meditation just right there, So you give us so many nuggets of wisdom to really meditate on. So I thank you for a very well prepared and a powerful class. And I look forward to more classes. That's what. Now,
Your tips.
Huh?
Your tips. How to respond.
Well, the tips is all given by you already. So I want to just say that just because I'm a therapist doesn't make life any easier for me. Just to give you an example, because just very recently, my daughter was getting married and there was so many things going on, and suddenly the Mehndi lady comes up and she asks me such a silly thing. And the first thing I do is I just snap. And I was like, oh my God, I can't believe it. You see, it's not so easy to be, it was Krishna showing me, don't think you're so advanced as you think you are, the most simple thing, and that too, in a setting where there are all kinds of people and you lose it. And my daughter chastised me. She actually did. She said, Mom, please. And so, we see Krishna really shows you, hey, this is your weak point. We sometimes think, now I'm cool, I've gotten past all this, nothing can provoke me. And boom, suddenly Krishna will send you, okay, look, this is where you need to work on. So the only tip I have, honestly, is work on yourself and keep working on yourself and grab those beads and really chant your rounds, because chanting really is the key to helping us get past offenses. There's no getting away with that. The more and more we get purified and come to the mode of goodness, the more and more able we are to deal with provocative situations. And Radhanath Maharaj says the test of a person's greatness is his ability to tolerate severely provoking situations. Yeah. And we are going to be severely provoked at the time of death. That's the most testing time for us. So we better prepare for it now onwards.
Thank you so much. Sadhana is actually we were just discussing, we have a sangha, a men's sangha, and we had it last night, and we were discussing that how sadhana means, sat means eternal, dana means wealth. So our sadhana is our eternal wealth. And we were just studying that chapter in the Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 9, when it's the Chatur Shloki, and afterwards Brahma he says he's going to concentrate his mind. He's going to carry out his service of creation with a lot of deep concentration, and through that deep concentration we can overcome pride, lethargy, and why? Because Brahma says to Krishna to Vishnu that you're giving me this amazing service, but I don't want to become proud. So then the advice is, okay, do your service, but do it in a concentrate. So when we're doing our sadhana, if we're concentrated, then yes, all our anarthas will be, we'll be able to overcome our anarthas. So please bless us all, Sri Devi Mataji, because you have Guru Maharaj's blessings, and we need to get the blessings of our seniors. And if you can please kindly give us your knowledge, your wisdom, you've gone and done the big thing, which is gone to stay in Mayapur and reside in the holy Dham. So it's very inspiring. I remember you saying to me something, and I said to you, I can't remember what you said. You said something about the devotees in Mayapur, and you're looking, and I was saying to you, when I get to Mayapur, what I look for first is you. And it's true. Like last time I came to Mayapur, I was looking around the temple thinking, where is she, Devi Mataji? And then I saw you at morning program and I felt, now I'm in Mayapur, so.
I don't know, it's just your goodness that makes you find some good in me. But honestly speaking, I'm neither senior nor I'm in a position to give any blessings. I'm just a big mess over here, and I'm praying every day that somehow my God family comes comes to Mayapur, and that way I get some nice, God family association, which I sorely need over here. So you have to bless me by coming over here and dragging everybody else, Sukavaha included, so that we can actually do our eco village over here.
Yeah, let's tell Guru Maharaj to do the next retreat in Mayapur. Would be nice. Next India retreat. Thank you, Mother Sri Devi. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Namrata Mataji, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna. Glory, please accept my humble obeisances. Glories to Prabhupada, all glories to our dear Guru Maharaj, and all glories to the 1 plus devotees all present here. I think this was, yes, the power booster class, and I have to hear this again because many points to be re-understood again. You sometimes have to repeat hearing to understand it more better, and I think this was one of the one of this class. So thank you very much, and I'm so glad. I mean, Rajvilasini Mataji spoke up, so I'm very glad for that, which is unusual again. Okay, so my realization, I would like to share that the first first time when I read Bhagavad Gita, I was at each and every shloka, I was like, okay, this applies to this person, this applies to this person, this applies to this. And then at the end, I realized, okay, where am I in this? Where am I? So, and then for the second time, I started that, okay, I have to find myself here, not others. So that was one thing. And I think I thank Krishna for at least, even at the end of first time reading, he gave me this realization that I have to find myself here, not others. So thank you for this. And I really look forward to more of your classes on false ego. I think you can really teach us a lot on false ego. So thank you for this. And one more thing, what everybody was asking, I think what Srimati Mataji specifically asked, that what happens when we are in the we are in the situation where we have to respond spontaneously, we have to react sometimes spontaneously. So I many times had this question that, what should be when somebody is really provoking in front of you, and you have to you are like you're triggered so much that you have to react. But yes, I am indeed an aggressive person, and all Rajoguni person, but I after so much of devotee association, I came up to the conclusion that I have to sometimes try and not to react. So I 2-3 times in some situation I really tried that thing, and later, even I think Guru Maharaj has told this in the class, that he gave the example of oldies who have this habit of not responding immediately. So and I took that thing and tried that thing 2-3 times, and it really worked well. Maybe we have to react because the situation is so provoking, but when I didn't react, it happened that in a course of time, in maybe a short time or long time, I realized that it was good that I didn't react, because I got my lesson and the person learned his lesson. So both the cases were win-win, and you really don't get the karma. So I this is one of the realization I wanted to share. And thank you very much. Looking forward to your other classes. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Yeah, I really liked your point about when we first read the Gita, we're thinking, oh, this applies to that person. My dad's like this, my mom's like this, my wife's like this, my husband's like this, my son's like this. We can put someone to everything, you know. But we only see ourselves as, yeah, I'm the one who's sharing the secrets, and I'm very dear to Krishna. I'm the most, you know, we put ourselves in that good bracket. But yeah, it's nice to see when we've got things we can overcome. This is why me and my wife, we don't listen to classes together, because when we're listening to classes, she points at me, then I point out, hey, look, did you hear? You need to sort that out. And then she'll be like, hey, you need to sort that. And we're never thinking about, so then we hardly ever listen to classes together, because it ends up that we end up pointing out each other's things. But yeah, and I really appreciate what you said, that when it's living experience, that when you don't react inappropriately or don't react in a negative way, that you feel some sort of, like you said, you don't feel the karma coming back to you. You've broken the cycle of tit for tat. I hurt you, you hurt me. So thank you so much, Namrata Mataji. Nice to have your association in Eco Village, and nice to see you today. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji, for sharing that. Scarlett, Mataji, Prabhuji, do you have time to take more questions? Or?
Yeah, I'm okay. As long as you're okay, Mataji.
Yes. Scarlett, Mataji, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to His Holiness Sir Candramauli, and all glories to you. Thank you for the class, and all glories to all this assembled devotee. I'm a mother of 6 children, and wow. My reaction, they are adult now, but the incident, it has happened, which now everybody knows about it, and it's talk about it. It makes me wonder if the child has been abused, a child like 4 years old, 5 years old, 6 years old, and how to see this when I know, when some people has known about it and didn't do anything about it. But do I think this child paying the karma, just let it be, let it happen because this child paying the karma, or to do something about it? And what the child is going to have a trauma. It's going to be a trauma, which it has getting so big that they are adult now. There are so many that they are telling. It's nothing that it's one child or 2 person who say it by enemy roles or anything. It's something that has happened. So how do I see this? That is, the child got the mercy of Lord Krishna, and the child paid the karma, or there are ugliness in the world, just accept it.
Thank you, Mataji, for raising this important point. When something bad happens to anyone, it's not for us to see that as their karma. For us, if someone else is hurt or been going through something, it's for us to be, as devotees, the hands of compassion. What can we do to, like you said, what can I do to help? How can I uplift them? It's not for us to see that as their karma. We only see the karma when it's coming to us, when it's something for us to grow from and learn from. It's not for us to see that another person's suffering is their karma, even though that might be the case, because then we'll just develop a very hard heart. Because we'll just say, oh, this person had an accident, this person's been abused, this person's got cancer, this person's got this, it's their karma, it's their karma. We'll develop a very hard heart, and we can't have a hard heart and go back to Godhead. We can only go back to Godhead with a soft heart. You know, it's said that Krishna is makhan chor, he steals butter. So we want to make our heart as soft as butter so that Krishna steals our heart. That's what we want. We want that soft heart so Krishna can come and steal that heart. So that means that a Vaishnava is para dukkha dukhi. He sees the suffering of others as his own suffering. So if someone else is suffering, we take on that suffering and we want to help that devotee. We want to help whoever is being hurt by anything, whether it's abuse or health or relationship problem. If we can help, we want to help. We don't really want to take the role of it's just their karma and they have to deal with it. No, what can I do to help them? What can I do to love them? What can I do to uplift them? We don't want to really get into that consciousness of that's their karma. You know, it may be the case. We understand cause and effect, that that nothing happens without Krishna's sanction. This is true. And sometimes we get that question, why do bad things happen to good people? And we can see that it's just this life is one of many, you know, and we're just seeing one chapter of a big book of many, many lifetimes. So maybe some things are maybe some things are due, some karma is due to someone, but we don't really want to go there with our consciousness. If something happens to us, what can I learn from it? How can I grow? What does Krishna want me to learn? How does Krishna want me to grow? If someone else is suffering, how can I love them? How can I help them? How can I uplift them? How can I help them get closer to Krishna? How can I bring them to a state of better consciousness? Yes, Mataji, you can carry on. Scarlet Mataji.
Yes, but isn't it the movements, authority in the movements, isn't it? It's their place to protect the weaker one, the child, and so on.
Yeah.
Is it for me? It's look like, or it feels like, don't do anything, don't question it, don't do anything, let it just be.
No, we shouldn't do that. You know, we have whoever's in charge, whoever's got the authority to deal with such things, they should be making sure that these things are done better. Definitely. That's and as devotees, if we are ever questioned by non-devotees, oh, this is going on in your movement, we can't just say, yeah, we're just going to stay quiet and let them do what they want. No, we you know, the thing is, ultimately, we accept that in an institution, there is going to be problems. In an institution, there is going to be difficulties. We accept that. And at the same time, if we're in a situation where we can help and if we can do something about it and improve the situation, we should. And if we can't do anything about it, then we can't do anything. But if we can do something, then we can try our best to help. If we have a calling within our heart that I must help, and that's the thing. Rather than just being annoyed and angry at the people in power for not having done their job in the way that they should have, what can I do to help? How can I serve? What can I do something? Can I get involved and help? We can try and think about things like that. If we're feeling very disturbed, that's the best thing to do.
But the thing is, we talk about not doing offense to the Vaishnava, to have respect for Vaishnavas. This is what all the time I get to hear in all the lecture. I listen to so many lectures, and all the time I get to hear there's Vaishnava, respect for Vaishnava. You ask for like that all the time for Vaishnava. The authority are not they Vaishnava. The authority that they saw this and still did nothing and even manipulate and hide it, are not they Vaishnava working in the movement?
So we don't know the full, you know, there's many, I would just say personally, I don't know the full detail of it, but what I would say is that Vaishnavas, yes, we respect Vaishnavas, but that doesn't mean that a Vaishnava doesn't make a mistake. So if they made a mistake, then they, just like any crime, a crime will get some punishment, a crime, so if someone has made a mistake, there's some reaction, there's some punishment. That stuff should happen. And it does, even in our institution, even if things get found out many years later, just like sometimes you hear of a murder case. Oh, this person got murdered in 1983 and they've just been put in jail recently. And then you're thinking, well, that was 40 years ago. But, they just take a long time sometimes to find out what happened and come to the conclusion of it. So ultimately what I'd conclude with here, Mataji, is Vaishnavas are there to be respected. We don't want to insult Vaishnavas, yes, but at the same time, if you are in the position of authority and some Vaishnavas have made some mistake, then we have to help rectify. And sometimes rectification is a punishment. So anyway, I hope that helps.
I'm new in the movement, and I look up to all of you. I look up to you, and I want to be a good
devotee,
good student, good devotee, and do right. But when the person you look up to, yes, this person has done something ugly, it makes it difficult for me to trust.
So this is the thing,
Mataji. I don't know if
agreed.
I can trust everybody else.
So the thing is with this, Mataji, you're very, very sincere, and you're a very sincere seeker. And I can really see that in the questions you ask every day. And yeah, you're a very sincere devotee. You can really sense, you got a heart who's desperate to be in touch with Krishna. It's very obvious. But if we're feeling like that to the people we look up with, just keep like yesterday, I think Guru Maharaj said in the class to Mother Sri Devi, just keep things very simple. Chant Hare Krishna, associate with devotees, do kirtan, and every day you have the association of a sadhu. Every day you get to hear Candramauli Maharaj on this daily call. Take his guidance, because he, like you said, there's some people that just because one person who was in a position of authority has done something, it doesn't mean everyone's like that. Yesterday you heard Guru Maharaj, he wasn't saying, oh, they were fine. He understands that in a society sometimes Kali gets in, because Kali can only destroy a movement from the inside, not from the outside. So sometimes some people who have negative intentions pose themselves as devotees and come into the movement. These things can happen, but that doesn't mean that everyone is bad if one person is bad. And it's not that the institution of Krishna, this is International Society of Krishna Consciousness, wants bad things to happen. Mistakes have been made, mistakes may continue to be made because we're all human, but the majority of the movement, the devotees, all would like to have a society where women, children, the animals, everyone is protected, because that's what the Shastra says.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you. Arjuna Prabhuji, you want to go ahead?
Thank you, Prabhu, for this wonderful class. All glories to you and Guru Maharaj and all of the devotees. I just have some, if we could give some hints about, because in my experience, it is easier to tolerate criticism from those who are non-devotees or not practicing like we are. It's easier to tolerate offense, criticism when it's coming from. When it's directed even to us for the service we're doing, or to your body or something. But if the criticism comes from someone who's close to you, you already have a relationship, friendly or in marriage or children, and assuming they're mature, if the criticism comes from them, and it's not always directed to you personally, it's directed to the practice you perform, how do we cannot get out of the situation because they're our
your relatives.
We live with them. At the same time, they're not really sometimes criticize us, they criticize even the tradition. So I found it's very difficult to find balance of tolerance versus saying something versus you cannot really get out of the situation because you're in that close relationship. It's difficult to whether you're by not saying anything you're offending, by saying something you're offending. It's like you're stuck in the corner, you know.
The material, this is life in the material world, Prabhu. So yeah, I really appreciate your question. So when someone's related to us like a family member and they say something about us or what we're practicing or the culture that we practice, when do I say something? When do I just stay quiet? What's the best thing to do? I think ultimately, Prabhu, like one realization I think I've had with things like this happening is until we're a really good example, this is always going to come. Like today, right now I'm at my mom's house because the internet at my flat's a bit dodgy. So I was thinking if I was going to give a class, I'll come to my mom's house. I'll come to my mom's house, and my wife and kids said we'll come too. And then and then I said, okay, you're going to come. So they all came, and then they're taking long to get in the car, and I'm like, hurry up, I'm getting late, hurry up. And, and then my wife said something, oh, so now you're telling us to hurry up, and then later on you go, hey, Hare Krishna, it's like, but it's true. The thing is, it's true that in one moment I'm not acting like an example of a devotee. I'm like, hurry up, get on, why are you taking so long? And then 5 minutes later, Om Gyan Timirandasya, I'm acting like some sadhu. But the thing is, if I had implicit character, I'll be able to deal with those trickier situations better. So I think ultimately, until we really understand that when we get criticism from close ones, it just pierces our heart more. But there's still a lot for us to learn if we can just get over that pain of being pierced. They're teaching us so much more than anyone else can teach us. It's just so hard to learn from them. But they're giving us the best lessons, and until we become the best example. And this is why for grihastas, the relationship with our spouse, it's just so good for us because anyway, if we see it in this way, that because it pushes us to just take that next step. It just keeps pushing us, and you think you got somewhere, like, oh my God, I tolerated so nicely. I responded to her so well. Everything was great. And then what happens? Your daughter does something and you snap at her, and it's like, oh God, and I've got to learn that. And it's just like an ever increasing opportunity to grow. And if we can see it as an ever increasing opportunity to grow, then we'll actually see Krishna in this. Krishna, what is it I'm meant to learn? Krishna, how do you want me to respond? And if we can tune ourselves into what Krishna wants, then actually it can become a very, it's purifying, but a blissful, purifying experience. Just try and tap into those lessons. And it hurts, but it's good for us if we see that the knife, like when the surgeon has a knife, it hurts, but it's there to give us the operation and to fix us. So it's like that when it's a relative or close relative. It hurts, but it helps us if we can tune into what Krishna's trying to help us with.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. You were telling that example like you are rushing and after that saying Hare Krishna. You are my kids tell that for us. You were like that before, 10 minutes before, and now you are talking so sweetly.
Yeah, exactly. Same stuff. But then anyway, I'm glad I'm not alone.
Everyone are in that same thing.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Finally, I think we have Raj Prabhu to share something. I think we will give a chance before end the call. Please go ahead, Raj Prabhu.
And it's quite late now, so are you sure you still want to?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. It's been said before. Radha Bhakti Mataji said it in a class some time ago, and I remember I repeated it once only because it changed everything for me. And I try and remember what she said now. It's like when people have really hurt you, when they've really hurt you and it goes deep, and then obviously in those situations it's incredibly difficult to forgive, because it's really gets to the pits of your heart, and it may be that they've hurt you repeatedly over a period of time. And he just said, what you need to do was like close your eyes, imagine that you're coming to the end of your life, and imagine that you'd been successful and you're going home to Goloka Vrindavan, and you imagine that you're opening your eyes and you're on a huge stage, and you're looking down, and all in the audience you see lots of people cheering, really cheering and cheering you on and smiling at you and so happy for you. Then you take a closer look into that audience, and you see the faces of those people that are really cheering for you, rooting you on, so clapping their hands and happy for you. And then you recognize the faces of those people are the very ones that you felt that have hurt you and wounded you the most. And you realize that actually they were not there to hurt you. They were not there to wound you. They were actually Krishna's agents, and they were actually your well-wishers and supporters. They were helping you. They did help you to get to where you are now, which is going home to Goloka Vrindavan. And when I heard that, I had stuff that I've been carrying for decades, and it really, really overpowered me a lot for decades. When I heard that, it's just like, wow, it just changed everything in that moment. In that moment, my whole world changed. And I was immediately able to forgive and see them as well-wishers and servants of God. And it no longer was this huge, massive, dark cloud that I've been carrying everywhere I went.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing, Prabhu. That was really nice meditation, cheering us on back to Godhead. And they were just Krishna's agents. They weren't trying to hurt us. They were just trying to help us. So, thank you so much, Raj Prabhu.
All glories
Thank you so
to
much.
Radha Bhakti Mataji for sharing it to us.
Jai.
Yeah, all glories to Radha Bhakti Mataji. Nice. Yeah, definitely. It's very helpful to meditate on. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, Mataji, for inviting me again. I really appreciate it. And thank you to all the devotees.
Now I'm going to bug you more whenever it's needed. Prabhuji, give class.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, dear devotees, for participating. Very nice discussion we had. Very nice class, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. We look forward for more of your classes. Hare Krishna. Pancha kalpatarubhyasya kripa sindhu pevakana pavanebhyo vaishnavibhyo namo namaha. The Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Ki jai. Candramauli Prabhuji ki jai. Thank you.
Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Thank you
Thanks,
so much.
everyone. Tomorrow is Harrisburg devotees class. We'll all meet tomorrow with separate Zoom link. Yeah.